Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to a very exciting first impressions walkthrough of Barbara Moore's Wizards Tarot. So I have to fully admit, because it's probably going to shine through at some point in this walkthrough, that I am having a bit of a fangirl moment. So not that long ago, the lovely Barbara Moore reached out to me and yeah, see, I'm already stuttering. She said hello. She said she'd been enjoying my channel. She wanted to send this out to me, and it was a very sweet offer. And I have to admit, I had like this complete giddy moment over it. Many moments. I may still be in one of those moments because I'm a huge fan of Barbara Moore. I've mentioned her on my channel before. She has written the guidebook for, or co-written guidebooks for several decks. I love her writing style. I have her book, Tarot Spreads. And I really enjoy her writing style. I really enjoy her approach to the cards, and I was really excited that she offered to send this to me. It completely made my week, my month, my year. It really made me happy. And we ended up having a fun email exchange, and I kind of admitted that I was too shy to come say hello at Northwest Tarot Symposium last year, when I knew that she was there, and she was like, no, don't do that. And she's not going to be there this year, but possibly the year after. So hopefully we'll rectify that at some point. We'll get to meet in person and I'll be able to introduce myself properly. But this was so sweet, and I just really enjoyed chatting with her. And I'm so stoked. She got this out to me so fast. And this deck is not yet out. I believe it is up for pre-order right now on Llewellyn's website. It is available for pre-order on Amazon.com and Amazon.ca. Those are the only places I've checked so that I know for sure. You can probably also pre-order through Book Depository, and there may be, I don't know if it's up on Amazon UK for order yet or anything like that, but I'm really excited. I think it launches, at least in Canada, it launches on March 8th or thereabouts, March 6th or March 8th, something like that. So I'm so excited that we get to have a peek at this together, and see all the cards, because there's not often a lot of chances to do that, and I'm over the moon. I'm over the moon. Anyway, I'm going to probably gush here and there throughout, but as I said, I'm a big fan. And the theme of this deck just reminds me of how much I love the Everyday Witch Tarot by Deborah Blake and Elizabeth Alba. Now this deck is, the deck is by Barbara Moore, and the illustrations were created by Mieki Janssens. I'm not sure if I'm quite saying that right. Now I do have my Rider-Waite-Smith handy. I haven't decided if we're going to do a side-by-side with the Rider-Waite-Smith, or if I'm just going to have the deck handy for size comparison, or maybe comparing against cards every once in a while, but I'm going to have that handy just in case. And let's dive in. So this is one of the new Llewellyn boxes, so it's nice and sturdy if you like to keep your decks on a shelf. I have already whined at Peggy for a particular fabric for a peggy bag, so I will be sorting that out very soon, but I'm very excited to get into this. So it's got a magnetic closure, and Barbara enclosed a sweet little note, and it's a card, and it's got her High Priestess card from the Steampunk Tarot on here, which I just think is so cute. I just love that. Anyway, that was really nice. And this is just absolutely stunning. So I've been loving what Llewellyn's been doing with their books lately. They use full color imagery throughout the entire book, and the box is just really nice quality, and I'm real excited. And as soon as this came in the mail and I saw that the box wasn't sealed, I completely flipped out, because I was like, oh, did she sign it? I don't know why I didn't even think to ask her to sign it. But I didn't have that kind of foresight, and thankfully she did. So she did leave me a little note in the guidebook. I already peeked. And it's so sweet. So I'm gushing. I can't. This is going to be like probably a very obnoxious walkthrough. Feel free to mute me and put the captions on if you really need to. But yeah, I'm excited. So we'll take a look at the guidebook at the end, because I know we want to get right into the cards. So they are nestled into the box with a little ribbon lift out. Oh, I love that there's an image here on the bottom of the box too. So let's set that aside, and I will get the plastic off of these. I guess I can stick it like out of the way. I'm going to be zooming this in anyway, so I suppose it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to use a sharp object off camera. Okay, I am like living. Oh, I just like threw plastic. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to put that in the recycle pile. This is... Look at this back. Are you kidding? Like, how gorgeous is that? And I have to say, the Llewellyn cardstock, this is like the not super crazy glossy, like it's glossy, but it's, well, maybe it is pretty glossy, but it's, I don't know how to describe it. They've had decks that are like super, super, super glossy. This feels like it's a little bit less glossy than that. I don't know how else to describe it. It's thin. I know it'll shuffle well. These decks tend to hold up pretty well as well. I don't know. I'm trying to remember if my other decks that have a similar style tend to chip, but I don't think they tend to chip as much. I'm really tempted to edge these in like reds and oranges and yellows to match this back, maybe with a pop of purple. That might be kind of fun. I might do that. We'll see. Okay, sorry. Enough of the backs. I'm gonna get us, oh, size. See, I'm all over the place. I can't focus. So they're about the same size as a standard. So this is the Rider-Waite-Smith Centennial Edition. And this, so we've got just about 1/8 of an inch, maybe, shorter. Same width as a standard. Okay, I'm gonna flip us over. Oh, this Fool. Okay, I'm probably gonna babble on throughout this entire thing. So brace yourselves. It's probably gonna be a long one. All right. I'm gonna hit her with some sage. Well, this is rosemary, but I'm so used to using sage bundles that I just like think everything is sage. Everything is sage. And some Palo Santo, and we'll get started. Okay. And last but not least, and so it's going, okay. I'm gonna zoom us in. I don't think I'm gonna worry about doing like a side-by-side with the Rider-Waite-Smith. I think that's just gonna distract me. So let's pull it in. That should be good. Okay, and here goes. So we're in at the Fool. I'm like kind of leaning in, so hopefully my voice still carries well. Okay, so the first thing about the Fool that's really catching my attention is that she's sitting at the edge of a cliff and she's looking down, and so is her dog. And it looks like she has dropped her red feather and her white rose. So just for comparison, because I can't help myself apparently, we have the Fool's red feather and he's holding the white rose. So you get this idea that like she's already gotten so close to the edge that she's maybe stumbled and some things have fallen. And now she's like, well, now what? So I love that energy. She's got her things here. All of our symbology is present. I'm really digging this. The Magician. Oh, I love it. He's standing in the center of a pentagram. He has the sword, the wand, the pentacle, the cup, and then of course he's holding his wand, but he's still got that as above. Okay, I'm going to keep my Rider-Waite-Smith handy. He's still got the as above, so below sort of body language happening, which is great. Our High Priestess. We have the pomegranates on the inside of her gown. I love this. There's like, is this water? I'm going to bring this in just a little bit closer for a second. All that happening there. I feel like I need to, I have the deck a little further from me than I'd like it, ideally, but that's really beautiful. We still have the black and the white. We still have the veil. We get this idea of water that's happening behind her. Love that. This almost looks like a lantern or something down here. Oh, just love that. Okay. I'm going to get just drawn into all of these images. The artwork is absolutely beautiful and very detailed. I love our Empress here. She's still got the flowers all over her gown. You get this idea of this like sort of relaxed, confident pose happening. She's got the cats. Looks like there's some fruit on a plate. Love, love, love. Our Emperor, definitely Lord of his domain. I love he's got this like raging like torch, floor torch sort of happening over here. And the sconce, he's got his staff. He's still armored with the red robes over top. I love that the Hierophant is a teacher and has 2 students. I really enjoy this imagery, but he still has the triple tiered hat or crown kind of thing going on. You get the idea of tradition here. You get the idea of sort of wisdom from elders. The Lovers. Oh, I really like this. You almost get this feeling of, I feel like we're pulling in again. I feel like the colors are definitely matching. I'm just getting to my Lovers card here for a second. I feel like there's definitely some hints. Oh, interesting. So on the Rider-Waite-Smith card, we have this sort of snake that coils up the tree over here. And here we have these like swirls of energy coiling up the pillars. That's really cool. The Chariot. I love, love, love the Lotus here. And I get excited about chariots that have elements that I'm really drawn to, because the Chariot is the Cancer card, the astrological sign of Cancer, which is my sun sign. And I love this like white and black dragon leading the Chariot. You've got, what's neat about this is I'm seeing a really cool melding of traditional imagery and symbols, but in this context of this particular world that we're peeking into, this magical wizarding world. The Strength card, I love that we have a dragon here. That is just beautiful. The Hermit. So neat. He's got something in his lantern. Again, I wish I could. I can't quite see my viewfinder from this angle. I'm gonna cheat and pull it really close here for a sec. Okay. It reminds me, it's almost like his staff has all these like symbols and things kind of dangling. It's almost got that energy of, you know, the traveling merchants that would have all their fancy gadgets. It kind of, at least in stories I read, it kind of reminds me of that sort of energy. And then inside his lantern is this glowing pentacle. The Wheel of Fortune. I love this. I love this. We have the astrological wheel going this way, but then all the other wheels seem to be associated with the seasons. So we have what looks to be like a spring wheel here, a winter wheel. I mean, if I'm reading this right, like a fall wheel. And this must be summer. Like you get this idea of the seasons. You've got like these leaves and snowflakes. This is really neat. And it looks like an atom, which is really a whole other layer and super fun to play with. And the idea of sort of potency in cycle comes through. The Justice card. I really like that there's no person here. I like that we have the sort of sword and the wand crossed, and then we have the scales. And there's a pen and some books, and you get this idea of different kinds of justice, different kinds of keeping things in balance that comes through. The Hanged Man. Huh. Death. This is such a cool image. This gives me some feelings. I feel as though death is sort of coming to shepherd this person into the realm of death. I don't know how else to describe it. It has this very sort of otherworldly feel, but it feels kind of protected and safe, like the way his wings curl around and they become fire and energy and magic. And I kind of just get this feeling of like being enveloped but protected. Temperance. Love this. The gold and the silver goblet. The Devil. Again, we have a pretty harmless looking devil. We have these people that are sort of caught up in whatever it is that they're caught up in. The Tower. That's a potent image. This totally reminds me of Hogwarts, this castle. It just has that feel to it. Such a beautiful star card. We have the heron up here. She's got just that ethereal energy about her. It's interesting, actually. I hadn't really noticed. I wonder if other decks do this, but I feel like, where is our Temperance card? Right before the Devil. We have the gold and silver goblet again, only this time they're being poured out onto land and onto earth. I cannot wait to get into the guidebook. You guys know I'm like all about it, but we'll get there. We'll get there. The Moon. This is crazy. So this definitely speaks to sort of the nightmare world and like the fears you need to face between these pillars here. We still have the wolf and the dog. I really like this. It's kind of like this creepy, like spidery, lobstery sort of. Oh, it's the crayfish, you guys. It's like a nightmare crayfish. That's so cool. What a fun take. The Sun. I love this. One of the ways I personally work with the Sun card is with the concept of authenticity and vulnerability, and that really comes through in this card. The Judgment card. Oh, this is so, so beautiful. And instead of that sort of angel that we normally have in the, I'm just going to show you the Rider-Waite-Smith here real quick so you can see what I mean. Instead of the angel, so here's our like traditional imagery. Instead of the angel, we have this like beautiful tree and forest, and we have this wise owl where the light just seems to be emanating from the owl. And you get this idea of being called forth, of stepping into that next level. I love that. And here's our World card. This is really pretty. I love this sort of gateway that she's standing in. She's holding her staff. She looks very fully embodied and in her personal power for sure. I love that she's still barefoot. And we have a creature in each of these quadrants. So we have a fairy, a salamander, a gnome, and a hummingbird. So I'm guessing we've got, I'm not sure how this is going to work here. So we've got fire and earth, air and water somehow represented, I'm sure. I'm going to have to check the guidebook for that one. Look at that ace. Oh, they're numerological. Okay, good. I'm going to pull the majors out of the way here for a second. I'm going to zoom us out just a little bit so I have a little more space. And I'm going to lay them out numerologically. So we have our Ace of Fire, Ace of Cups. I love the lotus. Lotuses are like very personally meaningful for me. I have a lotus tattoo. To me, the lotus just really speaks to that personal growth and having been through difficulty, but blossoming in spite of it, or perhaps even because of it. So we have our wand, our cup, our sword. I love the lemniscate growth around here, and our gorgeous pentacle with the elements. This particular pentacle literally gives me sort of Magic the Gathering vibes in the coolest way. Like, this definitely has a very magic-y feel. Let's take a look at our twos. So we have our Two of Wands, our Two of Cups, Two of Swords, and Two of Pentacles. Love these. So I love that the Two of Wands, you can tell he's definitely planning, and there's these ships just outside. In the Two of Cups, we have these two coming together. There's sort of a heart symbol going into a lotus. I love that. This is a very powerful and sort of conscious Two of Swords. It sort of speaks to, it reminds me of like moving meditative martial arts or yoga, like Tai Chi, yoga, those sorts of practices where you're really getting clear in your head despite the chaos that's going on around you. And I think that the waves and this action happening in the background really highlights that. And then in the Two of Pentacles, we also have somebody who's very masterfully balancing her tasks, who's getting centered and really deciding, you know, what's important and where her energy should be focused so that she doesn't get too depleted. I think that's really empowering for a Two of Pentacles. Let's take a look at the threes. The Three of Wands, the Three of Cups, the Three of Swords. Ooh. And the Three of Pentacles. Oh, I want to dive into the guidebook so bad, you guys. So the Three of Wands almost looks bored to me, like a little bit restless. Like, okay, now what? Oh, I can't wait to see what the guidebook has to say about that. I should make a mental note of which ones I want to specifically read about. I love the Three of Cups, and I love that we get this energy of three very different figures coming together. The Three of Swords. You almost get this idea like his study's been robbed or ransacked, and this idea that, like, you know, you're learning lessons the hard way, things falling apart and then having to regroup, like almost like the pages of a manuscript have been blown and wrecked, and all of that work may need to be started over. Like, it speaks to sort of the interruptions or the chaos that happens when we're trying to grow or to study or to learn. And the Three of Pentacles here, they're clearly working together on a spell with each person sort of filling a different role. I love that. Okay, let's look at the fours. We have our Four of Wands, Four of Cups, Four of Swords, oof, and Four of Pentacles. Oh, these are so good. Okay, so the Four of Wands, this is really cool. So you almost get this idea that he's manifested something, and I'm just curious about the progression here. So we have our Ace, we have our Two, just planning. We have our Three. I'm still curious about the Three here, and then we have our Four. You get this idea that he's almost cast a spell that he's not quite ready to deal with yet. Like he's like, oh shoot, I've got it. Now what do I do, kind of thing. So that'll be interesting to read about. The Four of Cups, I love. He looks complacent. He looks bored in that unfulfilled kind of way, which is a common way to experience a Four of Cups energy. And our Four of Swords, I love this. She's just like away from it all. She's still guarded and protected, but she's stepping out sort of mentally, emotionally. This Four of Pentacles is really powerful because you see sort of through these windows, you can see like a family, a wealthy family sort of enjoying their wealth, but they're all barred away from everybody else in society. They've got over security happening here with all the different kinds of locks and deadbolts and chains on the door. Very powerful image there. We have our fives, our Five of Wands, Five of Cups, Five of Swords, and Five of Pentacles. The Five of Wands is great. They're having some kind of magical duel or battle happening here. You almost get the idea that it could be good-natured or it could be overly competitive. The Five of Cups is just full of grief and of mourning. But I love how beautiful the scenery is behind her and the two cups that remain being held in that tree, and this reminder that everything she needs is still there. Yes, she's dealing with loss, but okay, I'm reading the cards now. I need to pick up the pace probably. In the Five of Swords, we can clearly see that people here have been betrayed. This one's tied up. This one looks like she's been wounded. And here's this dude taken off with the three swords. Very powerful image there. And then in the Five of Pentacles, this huge mansion and this poor person wandering in the cold. And all they need to do is go knock on the door and see if anybody's there. Sixes. Six of Wands. Six of Cups. Six of Swords, and Six of Pentacles. And the Six of Wands, we definitely get this. This is very Harry Potter feeling, right? Like as if somebody's just succeeded. There's the head of what looks like a bad guy in this sphere, and he's like, I've defeated the bad guy, I'm back, and everybody's celebrating. Here we have in the Six of Cups, like an older student sort of handing off. It looks like handing off knowledge or handing down information to the younger student. This is a really cool image. It actually helps to solidify in some ways what sometimes one of the meanings of the Six of Cups can be about reminiscing about the past, and it can also be about that sort of passing on of wisdom to those that are not quite where you're at yet. In the Six of Swords, they're getting ready to take off from what looks like they may be leaving at night under some sort of protective spell. They're getting away from a bad situation. The mother here, or the female, is sort of cradling the younger one. You get this idea of escape for certain. And then in the Six of Pentacles, you definitely get this idea of generosity, but you could see the shadow in this if you were looking for it, almost like, I've got plenty, so no problem. But you can see both, right? You can see the helpfulness or the act of receiving when in need, but you can also see the shadow. Sevens. Seven of Wands, Seven of Cups, Seven of Swords, and Seven of Pentacles. So in the Seven of Wands, still in frame, right? You definitely get the idea that this person's up on the higher ground. They've had a lot coming at them, or they have a lot coming at them, but they're prepared to defend themselves regardless. The Seven of Wands always feels to me, it can feel very empowering and like you're stepping up to meet the challenge, but can also sometimes feel like you're possibly over defending yourself, and maybe you've gotten yourself into a situation you don't need to have. In the Seven of Cups, you have all these symbols floating above each goblet, and he's trying to pick the correct one. So that's really good. Seven of Swords, we have somebody who's clearly taking off with a whole bunch of books. And books are such a great symbol to see in the swords as opposed to just swords. Because, of course, swords representing knowledge and intellect and wisdom. This idea of perhaps trying to shortcut something or get away with maybe not studying, stealing other people's notes, that kind of thing. And then in the Seven of Pentacles, you get this idea of just like, okay, well, I've put all of the ingredients into this really complicated potion spell. Now it's all being distilled, and I just have to wait and see how it's going to turn out and hope I didn't mess up any of the ingredients. I think that's a really beautiful and perfect image for the Seven of Pentacles. Okay, our Eight of Wands, Eight of Cups. I keep messing up my piles. It's making me a little twitchy. Eight of Swords. Oh man, I love that. And Eight of Pentacles. Okay, well, Eight of Wands, super cool. We get all of these wands sort of rocketing, and it looks like they're actually coming in. I'm just going to pick up our pile here. Yeah, they're definitely coming in towards the person or towards your perspective watching. Like all these wands are flying in. It kind of makes me think of the way Father Dudley, what was his name in Harry Potter, when all the owl letters kept coming and he was like, enough already. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit. But my head is totally in Harry Potter right now, of course, for obvious reasons. We're in a wizarding deck. Eight of Cups, this is fantastic. You almost get this idea of these are all the accomplishments, like trophies on the wall. Like, okay, well, yeah, I've made lots of accomplishments, but it's time for me to, I've done my work and now it's time for me to go. Like I've exhausted my opportunities in this situation. It's time for me to leave, which is perfect for Eight of Cups in my opinion. This idea of being bound up in the Eight of Swords, this is so, so good. But if you look at the knotwork around her wrist, you really quickly notice that her hand is holding this last piece of rope right here, which is only run just behind her arm where it's completely loose. She just has to give one very gentle little tug and she'll easily be able to unwrap her wrists. And I love that if you just look for just a second, you can see that and just see how much power she actually has in this situation. And what's more, all of the swords seem to be mostly behind her. She's got a big opening right in front of where she's standing and she could just go forward into those woods and get away. The Eight of Pentacles, I like this idea of work. We see repeated and crafting these beautiful pentacles. There's some variation, but they are there is a repetitive or a cyclical nature to the work. Next, we have the Nine of Wands, Nine of Cups, Nine of Swords, and Nine of Pentacles. In the Nine of Wands, we see somebody definitely holding their ground against, perhaps in the middle of a dark forest, definitely facing some odds and, you know, having to really hold on. And you can see all these other wands around him seem to be sort of depleted. So you get this idea of energy that's been spent and very little energy remaining. So that comes through pretty well. And the Nine of Cups with the feet up and the laid back posture, these cups floating above, you definitely get the idea of somebody who's sort of kicking back and they're enjoying their life. They're feeling fulfilled and content, happy. And the Nine of Swords, this is such a great image. She's laying on a bed of sword points. And it's like this idea of being in discomfort and like everything is kind of eating at you, which is definitely how anxiety and fear and worry can feel. And in the Nine of Pentacles, we have somebody who has clearly worked to get where she is. She looks like she's got these robes make me think of like honor robes. Like if you were in school and you were graduating and you have the extra banner from being in honors, you get this idea of accomplishment that comes through, as well as obviously enjoying her craft, enjoying her environment that she's built up. I really enjoy nines because they often speak to that sort of culmination of the energy of the suit to some degree without being over the top quite yet, right? The Ten of Wands. Oh, I love that Ten of Wands. Ten of Cups, Ten of Swords, excuse me, and Ten of Pentacles. Oh my goodness, I freaking love this Ten of Wands. You get this idea of somebody who's obviously got a lot of responsibilities, like with this antler. You get this idea of like this role that this person has, this weight of responsibility to maybe care for a kingdom, or maybe he's sort of the headmaster of the wizarding school and he's got a lot of responsibility, a lot of weight on his shoulders. He's got this mantle that he wears. I keep thinking of like the weight of ruling and the weight of being a leader and how that can really wear you down. The Ten of Cups, I love this as well. We have our little family, which is super cute. We have the rainbow and I love the lotus fountain. That just makes me really happy. In the Ten of Swords, we have a very classical backstabbing situation here. This person looks like he was applying himself and he was studying and learning, but you get the idea that somebody maybe wanted to get ahead, or, you know, he feels like he's been betrayed in some way. And then in our Ten of Pentacles, we still have this shape of the Kabbalistic tree of life and the way the pentacles are laid out here on the tree. But you do get this idea of generations. We have, you know, a parent-aged generation, a grandparent-aged, and then a grandchild-aged generation. So you get that feeling of legacy that comes through. I'm going to pick these up so that we aren't doing such a big pile as we go through the quartz. So let's start with our pages. We have our Page of Wands, Page of Cups. Oh, love her. Page of Swords and Page of Pentacles. I hope we're I'm flinging things around. All right. So the pages are sort of that youthful, exuberant energy of their suit. We have the wands, and he's definitely excited and energized by the magic he's exploring. Our Page of Cups is definitely eyes on that leaping fish and that sort of sense of wonder. And she's all wet. She doesn't care because she's just in the moment. She's very intuitive. Our Page of Swords here, ready to help out, ready for battle, perhaps a little overconfident. And then our Page of Pentacles, who is going to be somebody who's studied. She's very well prepared. She has all of these extra potions with her. and she's practicing her magic in a fairly safe place. Like, she's not taking risks. Love it. Next, we have our Knight of Wands. Knight of Cups. Oh, I'm a Cups fan, so if you hear me like gasp every time I see a cup, it's because I'm just always pleased when I like them. So our Knight of Wands is a really beautiful long-haired redhead, which I adore, and she's diving into some sort of situation in the desert. Very much that adventure vibe for sure. This journey and explorative vibe comes through as well. And the Knight of Cups, again, really deep into his emotions, and he's on that quest for the cup. You definitely get that sort of Grail quest almost feel from this card. And our Knight of Swords just leaping, fast moving, not necessarily even afraid of any sort of treacherous ground that she has to pass through. And then our Knight of Pentacles, very steady, moving slowly, very grounded, just what I like to see, well armored. Okay, Queens, our Queen of Wands, yes. Queen of Cups, Queen of Swords, and Queen of Pentacles. So we have the black cat here and the sunflower with our Queen of Wands, and she's in this velvet red, which is just stunning, in this sort of opulent setting, which is so her. Our Queen of Cups, deep in the water, more youthful, sort of, not sweet, but tender expression on her face as she works with the water and works with her emotions. Our Queen of Swords, sort of on a high balcony with her owl friend here, and this very narrow, sharp-pointed sword. And then our Queen of Pentacles has a little bunny friend. We've got to have a water friend here in this card. Am I just not seeing it? I don't see an animal in here, but I might just not be noticing it. But there's a cat, there's an owl, and there's a bunny or rabbit with the Queen of Pentacles here. There's an owl with the Queen of Swords and a cat with the Queen of Wands. But I don't see an animal in the Queen of Cups. But it might be implied with the water and that there be fish. And oh, I answered to myself. The Queen of Pentacles, yes, very beautiful here in her garden. The positioning here is, I believe, similar to Rider-Waite. Let's take a look at our Rider-Waite queens real quick. So our Queen of Wands, can I get them all in frame here? Kind of. I'm going to just, move our piles up a little, just for comparison's sake. Our Queen of Wands typically looks straightforward, so those are very matching. And then our Queen of Swords is typically side view in Rider-Waite-Smith. And then our Queen of Cups is also typically a side view. And our Queen of Pentacles. So these two feel like they're kind of true to the direction they normally face. These two feel true to the direction they normally face. But here we have sort of a more head-on view or a more direct view from our Queen of Swords and our Queen of Cups, which I kind of like. I feel like sometimes the side view diminishes their energy just ever so slightly. And I think it sends a message that all four queens are powerful in their own right. And I really like that. So just kind of a cool little thing to notice. Trying to remember how I did this. Oh, here we go. Okay. All right. So lastly, let's take a look. I'm just going to pick these up because I'm going to be shuffling in a minute. Anyway, let's take a look at our kings last. So we have our King of Wands, King of Cups, King of Swords, and King of Pentacles. Again, everybody pretty much faces forward. And in fact, it's interesting here. The King of Pentacles and the King of Wands are both slightly looking away, whereas the Swords and the Cups are dead on. I love that the King of Wands here looks very confident and sure of himself, which is something I look for in a King of Wands. I want them to feel very dynamic. I like that his posture is more open and confident. And really all of our kings have a similar sort of posture. The King of Cups is like riding or almost surfing, it looks like, on these waves, just like masterfully, like working, like riding over them in his throne as if he's like surfing. Love that image. And the King of Swords with all of his books, that's just spot on. I love that. And then our King of Pentacles here in this wooded setting. And he's a little bit more guarded, right? Like our Pentacles men, I feel like tend to be a little bit more grounded, a little more practical, a little bit more guarded, less like open, right? Same thing with our King of Swords. These would be like our two more guarded, and these would be our two more open, at least in my opinion. So that is all 78 cards. Let's see how they shuffle, and then we'll take a look at the guidebook together. Oh, it would help if I have them in like the right position here. And they shuffle beautifully. This cardstock really does, though. It shuffles gorgeous. I cannot wait to edge these in like reds and oranges and golds and blues. And I think I'm going to ask Peggy if she has any red dragon scale fabric left for me to get a small bag for these. Okay, I'm going to set these to the side. We're going to take a look at the guidebook. And then at the end here, we'll read a sample entry. And let me zoom us back out at least a bit. Oh, that looks pretty good. All right, cool. So here's our Wizards Tarot Companion Book, written by Barbara Moore, of course. So we have, right away you have your About the Author page, your About the Artist page. I wonder if it mentions any other things that Mieke Janssens has illustrated. Ah, she has a big influence from cosplay and mythical fairy tale creatures. That makes sense. It really comes through. Children's book and books and comics. She would love to keep a dragon as a pet. Love it. Barbara Moore has published other books including Tarot for Beginners, Tarot Spreads, the Steampunk Tarot, the Gilded Tarot, the Mystic Dreamer Tarot, Tarot of the Hidden Realm. Tarot of the Hidden Realms is Tarot of the Hidden Realm is one of my favorite tarot guidebooks, and the narrative style, what Barbara did with that was incredible. And she's also worked with, I think she wrote the guidebook for Stephanie Pumin Law's Shadowscapes Tarot, the Wonderland Tarot she designed and wrote the guidebook for. Anyway. So the Wizards Tarot Companion. I love the quality of these Llewellyn guidebooks. They have that almost magazine quality paper, like it feels really nice. So, of Tarot and Wizards, reading the cards, majors, minors, courts, spreads, and the magical path. Oh, that's interesting. And I love these full page images. Again, here's a larger version of that Queen of Cups, and I still don't see a water animal. So there's an introduction, and then we get into, so I flipped through just briefly the book already. And one of the things I wanted to point out, which was really cool, is when Barbara talks about her influences for this deck. So she talks about some, she talks about different types of tarot. She talks about Marseille and RWS. And then, where does she talk about? Is it in the intro? Maybe it's in the intro, because I wanted to share this because I think people will really, really like it. Okay. I'm determined. Here we go. The references in the deck. Okay, so let's see here. Let me start right here. If you picked up this tarot set, you are probably interested in wizards, magicians, and all sorts of magical beings. You might even be a fan of magical literature and movies. If so, you might notice some of the nods to magic users and wizards from popular culture. Don't worry if you aren't into fantasy literature or movies. The references in the deck are subtle and are not required to interpret or use the cards. They are more like sprinkles on top of a cupcake. Some of the influences in this deck include the Harry Potter books and movies, of course, the All Souls trilogy, which the All Souls trilogy is the Discovery of Witches series, which is actually on my Kindle now, waiting to be read, the Dresden Files, the Magicians trilogy and TV series, and the Hollows series. Because stories get into the subconscious, there are probably even more influences that I'm not consciously aware of. I would love to hear what connections you find. So then we get into a little bit about tarot. And then we get into reading the cards and a little bit about how to do that. This is a really beginner-friendly book from what I've seen so far. There's cheat sheet reading tips, and then we get into the major arcana. So for each card in the majors, it looks like you get keywords, some reversed keywords, a meaning, and some advice. So let's take a look. There was one or two that I wanted to look at that I was really curious about. Oh, that's definitely a sliced pomegranate there on the plate. Oh, and there's like there's tea and like little macarons and other treats down here at her feet. Let's take a look. There was definitely something I wanted to see. Oh, I love it. So she has apples on her gown. I hadn't noticed that detail at first. It's hard when I have just the small cards because they're quite a distance from my eyeballs. Love the dragon and the maiden here. This is great. I just love that. Hermit. Oh yeah, this is what I wanted to read about. So for everything, there is a season, and the wheel reminds us of that. Our experience of life isn't just one wheel, though. Life is wheels within wheels, a lifetime, a year, a season, or your time spent in childhood, being a student, spouse, sibling, parent, grandparent, or in a certain professional role. The wheel upright says that whatever is coming is part of the natural cycle and shouldn't be a surprise. That's the job of the tower. When things are flowing as they should, there's a feeling of rightness, and that feeling influences the meaning of this card as lucky. So if it comes up for you, things will flow in a natural way, and maybe you'll even have a little extra special good luck too. And then there's an advice section here that says, sometimes the normal flow of life includes things that we might associate with the bottom of the wheel. Death, endings, things falling apart. The wheel keeps turning and there's no stopping it. Even death doesn't stop it, because matter decays and becomes something new, which is a cool thing about this, like being an atom. You can control a lot in your life, but not everything. When faced with inevitable turnings of the wheel, know that you can always control how you respond to anything that comes your way. Oh, that's so good. So yeah, I'm going to just skip us ahead into the minors so we can see what's different in the minors. So the minors, you don't get the advice. You get, well, it might be in there, but it's all in one sort of page here. So you get keywords, reverse keywords. And I'll just read you this one as an example from the Three of Wands. Wands represent fire, will, passion, courage, drive, career, projects, goals, desires, and action. Threes are about synthesis and growth and are a mini completion on the journey to the tens. Oh, this is one of the ones I was curious about. The suits describe what happens when things come together or how to bring things together. Wands are about action, inspiration, and passion. So why is our wizard so glum? This is the stage in the plan when you've done all you can do except wait for results. You're excited, and understandably so. You've worked hard, maybe doing some complicated or risky stuff, and you're dying to know how it will work out. But the best thing you can do is be patient. Watch for any potential issues that may mess with your desired outcome, and be prepared to take action, but don't fiddle just for the sake of having something to do. This might be an uncomfortable time for you because things are in flux, and since your inner fire doesn't have an outlet, maybe find some engaging activity or physical exercise. Oh, it says physical exercise is a great choice, so you don't blow up at people around you out of pure frustration. That makes a ton of sense. And what I like about this, just by reading this one description, is I can tell that she takes the time to explain where the suits energy is and where the numerological energy is, and then she combines those and explains how that applies to this particular image. So that is really, really cool. Let's jump ahead to the end and see what else is in store. So we have our tens. Oh, and it also looks like for each number, there's an introduction to that number, which I love. And if you are interested at all in reading with pip decks or Marseille decks, then learning sort of the numerological associations with cards as well as the energetic suit representations is really helpful if you're new to tarot or if you want to jump into pip systems, because once that sort of numerological and energy of the suit is embedded in your mind, then it makes it really easy to work with non-scenic pips. So there's a section here on the quartz, an intro to the pages, the knights. Let's read one of the court cards just to get a feel. Let's read the Queen of Cups. Queens are interested in connection and relationships. They are often teachers or mentors, either formal or informal. Lean on them for support. Sensitive, loving, and creative, the Cups enjoy beauty, art in all forms, and connecting with others. Sometimes they take things too personally. This watery queen thrives on deep personal relationships. The world she feels can always use more rich complexity and true beauty, so she is all for adding to it in any way she can, whether as an artist or supporter. Because of her strong intuition and sensitivity, she observes a lot and can give solid guidance, especially in terms of personal connection or heartfelt creative expression. Some may find her intimacy cloying or off-putting because she can be needy, but she is a sweet balm for any soul in need of gentle empathy. Oh, I love that. So you can tell she's really... she's written each entry for either a minor, a pip card, a major, or a court card in accordance with the energy of that card. So here we get like a person really described to us, which is perfect, especially if you're getting used to using or getting to know the court cards, which can be challenging cards. And then after that, we get into spreads. So I'm not going to show you all of these. Obviously, there's a few in here, but I like to just respect... I don't know, I just like to respect that part. But it does look like they're going to be interesting to dive into. And then there's a section here about the magical path. So it says it can be used just like any other tarot deck. The wizardly aspects do not negate or override traditional tarot meanings, But here we'll look more closely at some of the symbols used in the cards and some of the wisdom they hope to share. For many tarot readers, here's where the awesome potential of tarot is found. The real power of tarot is not telling the future, but telling you who you are, because who you are will determine your future. So it looks like it goes into some information here about the influences and the symbols and why certain symbols and images were chosen. So if you really like knowing why the artwork is depicted a particular way, it sounds like this is the section you're going to really enjoy reading through. And then there is a conclusion here with a beautiful blessing at the end. And that is it, my friends. So that is the Wizard's Tarot by Barbara Moore and illustrated by Mieki Janssens. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to play with this. And I'm kind of bummed because as I'm filming this, I'm just getting ready to dive into a period of time where I'm going to be working only with Pip decks and Marseille decks. So it's going to be a little while before I can really dive into this and get to know it. But I am so, so excited for when I get to do that. Thank you so much for hanging out with me during this walkthrough. I cannot wait to hear your guys' thoughts. Let me know if you have already pre-ordered this deck or if you plan to, what you're going to be doing, because I think it's gorgeous. I can't wait to hear your guys' opinions, and I will talk to you all again very, very soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.